This South Korean anime series starts with a man relaxing on a beach with his friends. He is talking on the phone with a person called Mr. Park while relaxing on the beach of an island. He tries to blackmail Park Moojin, a politician of the Korean National Assembly, threatening to reveal the corruptness and financial dealings. Just as his storm is about to hit the island, something supernatural appears from the clouds and attacks the island. Although a helicopter pilot is flying over the island, he sees that it has been crushed by a huge hand and a cross imprint on the place of the palm of the hand. Elsewhere, Park Moojin carries out his preparations for the upcoming The God of High School Martial Arts Tournament. A flashback shows a child called Jin Mori. His grandfather had cared for him until he was old enough to start school. Mori, who is a 17-year-old martial artist in the present day, awakens from a dream of the incident and is horrified that he overslept and is late for the martial arts tournament in Seoul's Korg Arena. Mori races through the streets on his bicycle like a madman and almost runs over an elderly woman. People from all across the area are excited about the tournament to begin, including Han Dawi, who's just finishing the night shift at his job. A group of martial artists who didn't qualify for the tournament are asked the way to the arena by a teenager called Yumida. They admire her cute looks while she admires their muscles. Meanwhile, Mori sees that an old lady has been robbed by a rogue biker and decides to get her purse back. While in pursuit, Mori accidentally meets Mira when he crashes his bicycle into her face. Fortunately, they decide to cooperate to chase down the mugger and nearly catch him, but Mira crashes into a street sign. Just when the biker believes he's gotten away, Dawi appears and punches him off his bike and puts an end to the chase. Mori, Mira, and Dawi arrive at the arena just in time to prepare for the preliminary rounds of the tournament. All the contestants are injected with nano machines to monitor their vitals and heal their injuries so they can fight better. They are taken aback when the announcer declares that the preliminary rounds will be battle royal style. The commissioner who recruited Mori apparently fought him and was injured by him. He sees Mori fight and declares that everything is going as planned. The other commissioners then send a convicted criminal and gangster called Kang Man-seo, believing that he should be defeated because of his violent past. Although Kang is a very strong martial artist, he can only fight with his legs and feet because his wrists are handcuffed, but he quickly overpowers the fighters he picks and bullies them. When he reaches Mira, she fights back but is no match for him, and he steals her bokken. Mori steps in, and when they face off, he moves nimbly to avoid injury and even damages one of Manseo's ankles. Mira snaps Mori's neck to retrieve her bokken. She, Mori, and Dawi walk home and discuss why they have entered the tournament. Mori explains that he wants a rematch with the commissioner who scouted him. Meanwhile, Dawi needs money that he can win from the tournament to pay for his friend Woo Sung-tae's medical bills. And Mira reveals she is hoping to find a strong man who can become the successor to her late father's moonlight sword style, so that she can preserve it by passing it on to her future children and rebuild her family's dojo. As Mori gets curious about Mira's sword, he accidentally drops it in the river. Angered, Mira slaps him and tells him to leave. She looks for her missing sword as her flashbacks show how important her sword is to her. Mori comes back with a flashlight to help her search along with Dawi, and a warm feeling of friendship bonds the trio. The next day, the second round of the preliminaries starts. As the fighters wait, tensions spark up between Gamdo and Manseo. Manseo tries to kick Gamdo, who was off guard, and Mori interferes and blocks the kick. The tournament starts, and Mori, Dawi, and Mira win her first round battle. A full fight is shown between Manseo and Gamdo, who is a Tai Chi user. Mori suddenly joins the ring furious to stop Manseo and save Gamdo. He manages to kick him out of the ring. The commissioners appear and stop Mori from continuing for interfering. Manseo has a flashback about some bad memories. and he releases a demonic aura. He continues his attacks but is challenged by Mori, who uses a special foot art style technique called renewal taekwondo. After knocking Manseo down, Mori is suddenly pushed and held by Mujin, the president of the commission team and the organizer of the tournament. He orders for Mori to be punished for interfering in a match. A mysterious cult observes the tournament, and Mori faces disqualification until Mujin recognizes his grandfather, Jin Taijin. During the second round battle, Mira goes up against Mami Sion, a wrestler from America. It's a fiercely close match. Mira loses her sword during the fight. She even surprised everyone when she reveals she can slice flesh using only her bare fingers. Mami Sion realizes that she could lose her arm if she continues the fight and decides to forfeit. Mujin tells Mori that he will be allowed to return to the tournament if he can defeat Commissioner Q in a match, but he is not the commissioner Mori wants. Later on, the administrators of the tournament hint about an old sealed power that is hidden in one of the candidates of the tournament. They suspect it is Mori because of her irrational power, and also because he is related to one of the strongest fighters in the world, Jin Taijin. Curious to find out if Mori is the one they're looking for, Mujin gives Mori some fruits, stating that if he survives, he's the real deal. But when Mori eats a peach, he collapses and throws up blood. Davi's friend, Sung-Ti, is switched to a more expensive medication, so Davi becomes even more determined to win. The next battle of the second round is between him and Baek Sung-chul, who fights with a baseball bat. Despite painful damage to his organs, Davi unleashes his secret technique that destroys the bat and knocks Sung-chul unconscious. Mori's fight against Commissioner Q is about to begin. He awakens and barely makes it to his fight in time. He is told he will win if he pushes the commissioner to the floor. When the commissioner mocks him, Mori easily pushes him down within seconds and is amazed that his body feels more powerful. But the commissioner is so angry and embarrassed that he unleashes a dark aura to summon a spirit that looks like a clown with a sight to kill Mori. Before it cuts Mori into pieces, the commissioner is stopped by other commissioners, and Mujin, who tells him that his paycheck will be deducted of 3 months' salary. Mujin then happily confirms that Mori is Taijin's tiger cub and swears to take possession of him. While walking home, Mira was approached out of nowhere by Seongjin, a martial artist and businessman, who asks her to marry him, promising he can make her sword style world famous. Shockingly, Mira agrees without thinking twice because it seems to fulfill her purpose, and she even drops out of the tournament. Mori criticizes Mira for treating marriage like a business arrangement and becomes convinced that Seongjin has an ulterior motive. He decides to crash the wedding. He is overpowered by security, but Dawi comes to help him. At the altar, Seongjin has a flashback, revealing he is a cult member who has been ordered to marry Mira to access her moonlight sword style that is believed to be capable of defeating God and protecting the person who controls it, which is Mira. Mira comes to her senses and calls off the wedding, which infuriates Seongjin. He summons a samurai spirit to kill them and manages to escape with Mira's bokken. After this, Dawi watches his friend's condition worsen, and this dramatically changes his stoic personality to a more brutal one. He first beats up his bullies from the store where he works. During his match against Mira, Dawi shocks everyone when he wins by savagely beating the swordless Mira unconscious, and he then asserts that he will defeat Mori in the finals. Mori defeats his next opponent, a Brazilian jiu-jitsu fighter, and will face Dawi in the finals. Angered by Dawi's attack on Mira by targeting her injuries, Mori decides to hold nothing back in the final, but Mira urges him to fight Dawi for the right reasons, not for revenge. In flashback, Dawi asks the tournament's committee to save his friend using their nanomachine technology. However, the committee gave him the condition that he has to have overwhelming victories in his last 2 matches. Unbeknownst to Dawi, they have been trying to save his best friend with the nanomachines, but to no avail. As Dawi and Mori fight, it becomes clear that they are evenly skilled. Mujin watches them, hoping that Mori will awaken. Mori knocks Dawi down and tries to show him mercy instead of taking revenge. But Dawi takes advantage, claiming he was never really their friend, and unleashes a devastating attack on him. Mira stumbles across Songti's room in the hospital and finds he has already died. Dawi knocks Mori down, but as the referee begins the countdown, Mujin, who had already promised to cure Songti if Dawi won, informs Dawi that Songti is dead, hoping to unbalance him. Dawi then loses his desire to win the match. Mira interrupts the match with a goodbye letter Songti had written to Dawi. He joins the fight and is defeated by Mori. A shadowy figure in the background states that the level of the fights in these preliminaries was really low compared to the others that occurred in the other cities. Mujin comments that he seems to have found 2 tiger cubs. A secret cult called Nox kills 2 members of the God of High School organization. Meanwhile, Mujin calls for the elite group of fighters, the 6, when Jin's missing grandfather refuses to join the cult, and its members call on their deity to destroy him, but he uses his secret power to defeat several men from the organization. Mori is now Seoul's regional champion and can compete in the national tournament with a team of the regional's strongest 3 fighters. Mira defeats her next opponent, making her the 3rd fighter. We then learn that the rules for the finals have been changed. Due to a large number of worthy participants, the committee has decided that the finals will be conducted as a team battle of 3 persons. Mujin hopes one fighter from the nationals will awaken as the key. The commissioners worry about Nox interfering, so Mujin summons the 6, including his elderly former instructor, Na Bungchim, who decides to take Mori, his pupil, to provoke Jin Taijin. They have a discussion about Nox and the fact that it has approached Jin Taijin. On the battlefield, Jin Taijin didn't have any difficulty defeating his multiple opponents with just a kick. The leader of the group then decides to launch a giant attack on him. The next day, Mori has a run-in with Na Bongchim, who seems to know his grandfather and is willing to teach him some new techniques that could be useful in the tournament. In his office, Mujin wants to make sure that Dawi's motivation to win the tournament is not going to suffer due to the death of his best friend, and Dawi assures him of it, but demands that Muji tells him about the powers behind the tournament. So Mujin tells him about the Chaok fighters who borrow power from gods, demons, even historical heroes, and Mujin wants to find the strongest of them. Dawi then tells Mori and Mira about Chaok, though this only makes Mori more excited about fighting strong opponents. Mira, Dawi, and Mori, representing Seoul, will face off against the team from North Chongchong. The format is simple. Each team will fight one-on-one, and the first team to reach 2 wins goes to the next round. Mori goes first. He uses Bongchim's acupuncture techniques for strength, but accidentally paralyzes himself and loses. Mira faces fellow swordsman Chang Changgi, a kendo practitioner, whom she defeats, winning the match for Team Seoul. Mujin believes there's a mole in their organization and is informed that Jin Taijin has gone missing. Jin Taijin's severed arm was discovered, suggesting he was defeated and captured. The next team matches begin, and Jegal T starts his match using his Chaok, Megalodon, to brutally bite and rip his opponents. Dawi intervenes in the match but fails to stop T from claiming a sadistically violent victory. The South Jeolla team entered the semifinals after the victory of Park Ipyo using the ancient martial art Taekyon and his Chayo, Nine-Tails Guardian. Mori wonders why the tiger on Ipyo's jacket is the same as Jin Taijin's military uniform. Later, he is approached by Ipyo, who explains after his father died and his mother abandoned him, Jin Taijin had given Ipyo a Taekwondo training manual written by Ipyo's deceased grandfather, inspiring him. He mentions that he wears that jacket to honor Mori's grandfather. Tae then attempts to kill Ipyo, almost killing Mori, but Ipyo saves him. He warns Mori about Tae and leaves him with the promise not to hold back the next time they fight. Mori becomes depressed because he misses his grandfather. He receives a map and a photo of Jin Taijin imprisoned, missing his arm but still alive. The next day he rushes to find his grandfather. The tournament has reached the quarterfinal stage, but with Dawi suspended for interfering in Tai's match and Mori missing, Team Seoul is likely to lose. Judge P tells Mira and Dawi that the match opposing them against Jeju will begin in 5 minutes, and if Mori doesn't show up for the second fight, they will be declared as forfeit. They decided to start the first fight, hoping Mori will show up in time, and Mira takes on Lee Marin, who fights covered in tanning oil. He has a stolen bokken, explaining he unlocked the full power of Moonlight style, where she had failed and transforms her bokken into the sword Fengxian. Mira retrieves Fengxian only for it to return to Marin, having recognized him as its true power. Mori follows the map to Jin Taijin in an abandoned warehouse, realizing too late he is a fake which explodes. The bomber Fei Long reveals he is killing weak fighters like Mori to locate the key faster, and he uses the Chayok doppelganger to create clones. Meanwhile, Marin stabs Mira, declaring her too weak to wield the power to kill God. Mori is overwhelmed by the clones until Long reveals Mari and his team are dead and replaced by Nox cultists disguised using doppelganger. Furious, Mori uses an acupuncture technique to make him temporarily immune to pain. Mira's will to fight lets her hear the voice of the great hero from the sword, Lu Bu Fengxian, and she gets her access to the sword Charyo and true ownership of the sword. Marin attempts to use his Charyo but is defeated. Mori suddenly appears and easily defeats the second Nox imposter, flashback suggesting he killed Long to avenge the real Marin. The six, all watching Mori fight, made a comment on how Mori has the same fighting spirit of the person who raised him, and Bong Chim admits Mori has grown from Taijin's tiger cub into a true tiger. Mori then learns that the real Jeju Island team has been murdered and impersonated by infiltrators, but his team will still take part in the semi-final regardless. Mujin then tells them that the group responsible is called Nox and is also involved in the capture of Jin Taijin. He informs Mori and his friends that Nox worships a single deity and plans to kill all other gods and Charyo users. T, who is a member of Nox, kills Long, declaring he will claim the key. Mujin confronts Mandio, who is also a high-ranking Nox cultist and has infiltrated the area. Mandio to summon his god. One of the six, Sohanya, attacks the god with his 108 national treasure weapons to protect the arena, and the god is finally defeated and the arena is safe. Meanwhile, Mori defeats Ipyo in a match. Ipyo remembers the promises made to Jin Taijin that he would help Mori grow as a fighter if he ever had the chance. He suddenly receives divine inspiration from his Charyo, Nine-Tails Guardian, and awakens a new power, and Mandio happily declares that the key has finally awoken. We then learn the story of the legendary Nine-Tails tournament officially over, but Mandio involves the god in a final act to destroy the world. The United States is made aware of the situation and fires nuclear missiles on Seoul in an attempt to subdue the old god, with complete disregard for hundreds of thousands of lives to be lost as a result of this decision. The fight between Tae and Ipyo continues. He consumes Ipyo and releases the key from within him. In a moment of frenzy, upon the appearance of the key, members of the six, the servants of the god, and Mori fight to seize it, and Mori wins, and Mujin teleports them away to a spirit realm. With the missiles near and the citizens of Seoul stampeding to find shelter, Chong Chaijin too teleports all of the people of Seoul to a cliffside outside of Seoul, from which they witness the destruction of the god at the hand of Chaijin and his transmutation magic. Mori and the other fighters are teleported back to Seoul, where they see the body of the dead god. In the final moments, the key is stolen and consumed by Tae, and he becomes a god. He begins to ambush Mori and his friends. Mori's memory is triggered and he remembers his true identity, the great god, Sun Wukong, who was also the Monkey King. He summons his Ruijingu staff to fight Tae. Mori's friends join in the fight and finish Tae for good. Kim Ong-nyo, the founder of the Six, is awoken from her cave slumber and congratulates the group for completing the tournament and offers them a chance to have one wish granted. Mori initially wants to wish for his grandfather, but remembers Ipyo's friends are missing limbs and unselfishly wishes for them to be healed. Ong-nyo tells Mori that his grandfather is still alive, and he finally loses consciousness as a result of the battle. He wakes up 3 months later, and Dawi and Mira inform him they must travel to the Monkey King's origin place to recover his memories as a god.